How to make a scene. I'm not talking about a fight in public with your girlfriend, boyfriend, mum, dad, or whoever. I'm talking about the creative blossoming of a music scene, issued forth from a social connection. In this video, I'll outline what a music scene is and the factors of how a music scene develops. Think of a typical music group. It may be you, your band, a friend's band, or just someone you know. They probably aren't famous and they probably don't use music as a main source of income. This may be because a lot of people in the public today, especially musicians, reject the music that is being put before them. But what goes into developing a music scene? A venue, for instance, may have certain policies and rules that aren't necessarily enforced, but acknowledged. They have the same impact in developing a scene as much as the creativity of the musicians. That being said, it doesn't automatically depend on the inspiration and creativity of the individuals hanging out in a venue. These factors aren't absolute, but they are a start in trying to find out what goes into a music scene. Number 1. A venue must be of appropriate size and be in a suitable location to present new material. How many times have you been in a venue that's too small or too big? Not every music space is appropriate size for a wide variety of music that is being played today. Keeping it local to Melbourne, the Workers Club on Brunswick Street displays live bands that play real instruments. Vocals, usually more than one, guitar, bass, keys and drums are all elements that the Workers Club uses regularly. On top of that, a sophisticated live setup is also used to amplify the musicians, creating a live atmosphere in one room with about a 200-person capacity. In contrast to the Workers Club, venues such as Revolver Upstairs or 161, both located on Chapel Street, South Yarra, have a standard setup used by DJs and producers. DJ decks and a PA speaker is all that is required in these venues, granted that Revolver Upstairs has a band room. Venues that are developing a music scene must have bar chatter or background music playing when a musician is not. The Evelyn, also situated on Brunswick Street, Fitzroy, exemplifies this point by not flooding the room with booming music, still allowing conversation between patrons even when a band isn't playing. Opposing this point is venues such as the Palais Theatre in St Kilda, a venue used not only by musicians but also comedians and other exhibitions. The Palais offers a sit-down approach to music. Bands with a softer, easier listening sound usually play here. In September of 2010, I saw Angus and Julia Stone play at the Palais. After a few beers with my mates, we didn't realise what type of venue it was. We were cheering and getting around the songs. Some guy then kicked the back of my chair and told me to shut up. A quote from Polish theatre innovator Jerry Kutowski defines poor theatre. Kutowski says, "A show that uses extremely modest means leaves plenty of room for gestures, costumes and sound." It goes on to say, here we can see the theatre's therapeutic function for people in our present day civilization. It is true that the actor accomplishes this act, but he can only do so through an encounter with the spectator. Number 2. Artists should always be allowed to play their own material. Playing my own band for the last 6 years, I've always been a strong believer in playing my own material, maybe with the exception of a cover or two throughout the set. All artists should have at least some of their own material to play. It is essential to a developing music scene that's fresh, where unheard material is always being played through. An exception to this would be if the venue was specifically not after raw music material. For example, the Village Bell St Kilda, a predominantly 25 to 50-year-old demographic pub filled mostly with British and Irish people, has a cover band play every Saturday night. This is due to the high demand of patrons wanting to dance around to songs they know and love but see them being played live, but couldn't care less if it was the musician playing them who wrote the songs. To most venue owners, only a decade ago, it must have been improbable that customers in a bar or pub would even want to listen to bands that play music they haven't heard before, let alone bands they haven't even heard of before. In some ways, it still happens today. The booking agent way over there, owned by Triple J's Richard Kingsmill, doesn't consider a band for a festival lineup or a gig at one of their venues or festivals unless they have a sufficient music sales or radio play. Therefore, bands playing their own music is a vital and crucial factor in establishing a vibrant music scene in a particular atmosphere.
Standard Barn, author of How Music Works, musicians who have played at the venue should always be able to enter the venue for free, even if they aren't playing. This isn't always the case in Melbourne venues, but if a band is playing, they're usually entitled to 1 or 2 free entries per band member. Toffin Town always allows as many free entries as the musician wants, because the more people they let in for free, the less money the band makes. Therefore, it's the band's decision because that only affects them. most venues operate in a one person per band member. But when it comes to bands and then members themselves, they should always be let in for free. Family members, partners, close mates and roadies should always be allowed cheaper or free access and all access. Artists and bands don't generally go to venues unless they are there to see someone that they know and maybe get it for free. However, most bands and artists I know are usually happy to pay $5 or $10 just to show their support. In my opinion, venues are not obligated to allow free access to musicians who have played in the past, although it can be a big factor in establishing a music community and in turn adding to the overall scene of that venue. When creating a music scene, you want to show a sense of non-conformity to the current prevailing scene. No one really likes following what a large crowd is doing, and the same goes when you're choosing how to spend your Thursday night or whatever. A successful scene presents itself as an alternative from what a large cohort is usually doing that night. Establishing a music scene creates an atmosphere of exclusivity, of you can't get this anywhere else, and it's a place where alienated people can share their cynical feelings about a prevailing music scene and not be judged or ridiculed on an opinion. In this stimulating music scene, everyone is allowed to share their opinion. And it's a place where a patron or an artist can empathise and plot his or her own course. They want to find something new, something trendy, something that hasn't been discovered yet. Some people want heartfelt, authentic music and not manufactured music.
Some people really connect with live instruments being played in front of them. I know I'm one of those people. Big rock shows are almost fiction, an unbelievable entity in society that almost seems impossible to imagine that the people playing are actually recording musicians. I nearly had my ears blown off in 2010 when I attended AC/DC's Black Ice tour at Etihad Stadium, when they blew off cannons and fireworks at the end of their encore. And yeah, it was exhilarating and exciting, but at the same time, a fantasy away from a real music scene. Bands like AC/DC, Kiss and the Rolling Stones all have amazing music that has gone through at least 2 generations, but have outrageous live shows, because they're financially supported by large labels and sponsors. Bands in a local music scene conform within each other when they work in a framework of what they love. This is a conformity that is not often recognised, but seen more as a community atmosphere imperative to creating a scene. Number 5. Bands must be paid fairly. Playing around Melbourne's venues in high school and my last 3 years out of high school, I try not to get hung up on what the band is getting paid. We made an agreement at the creation of our band to put everything we make from gigs into an account that is only for band-related costs. Whether that be percentage of door sales, percentage of bar sales, or just agreed upon price before the show. I don't play for the money, it's just a bonus. That being said, I think it is imperative that artists and bands are rewarded for their abilities when playing, and vital in establishing a music community. A positive example of a well-paying entity is the Toff in town. The Toff allows a band to set up their own door price, and the venue takes only 10% of ticket sales. On top of that, the more people bands pull through, the lower the percentage they take off the total ticket price. They also provide a free house sound engineer for night, an exceptional backline so you don't have to lug all your gear up 3 flights of stairs, unless you want to, and they provide a fairly generous rider as well. A negative example is Gun Music booking agents. They operate the Gershon Room at the Espio Hotel in St Kilda. Gun Music asks bands to sell tickets at $15 and take $12.50, leaving the band with virtually no money. A band selling physical pre-sale tickets is a recipe for disaster. I've been a part of lost and misplaced money for tickets in my early playing days, and learned that selling physical tickets to your show doesn't work. Bands should never pay to play. It is a sickening thought that a venue or a booking agent would ask money from a group so they could play at their venue. Emergenza Festival is an unsigned band music battle of bands that asks artists to pay a fee and sell tickets at $25. So they can enter a competition of 3 round heats to maybe get into a semi-final, to maybe play a grand final, to maybe play a festival in Germany. Getting paid in cash is always better. In Australia, getting paid in cash is tax-free, there is no need to fill out annoying hobby forms or worry about not having an ABN number. Most unsigned bands don't realise that they have to have an ABN number to get paid. Number 6. Social transparency must be encouraged. There should be no social barrier between musician and patron when establishing a music scene. It creates a sense of we're better than you, which is a message most musicians do not want to emulate. It obligates the musicians to interact and mingle with their audience. In summer this year, I went to a secret show held by Canadian Mac DeMarco, a proficient singer-songwriter at the Abbotsford Convent in Collingwood. This gig wasn't posted anywhere except for the Abbotsford Convent website. Tickets were $20 and it was set to be a nice 25 degrees. During this gig, my mate jumped on my shoulders. Mac DeMarco pointed him out and started having a casual chat, asking him to take his shirt off and show his rig to the crowd of about 1,500 people. Immediately after the show, the entire band was amongst the crowd having a beer, having a chat, getting to know their Australian audience. I spoke to Josh, the guitarist, and he told me they had no idea that they had a huge fan base in Australia. The simple fact that they didn't know they had fans in Australia and found out by playing here and talking to Australians strengthens the notion that social transparency must be encouraged to a music scene, to knock down any barriers that have been put in place by media or other means of networking. Limited means can be a productive aspect in creating a scene. The Brunswick Hotel on Sydney Road has a stage set up to the front left corner and load in and out is in the back left corner. When loading in and loading out, the artists must weave and walk their way through the crowd to place their equipment on the side of the stage. This doesn't put a wall between the audience and the band. It allows the audience to see what the musicians do to set up. Limited means can often provide a sense of solidarity throughout the venue. It can create a linear music vibe. For example, Nevermind Bar in Hawthorn is a venue that plays local bands through their house music system. The owner Joe is always open to local bands that he knows submitting their music to be played throughout the week on a rotation. A scene develops when patrons hang around when they have no obligation to. The most important fan is the one who wasn't supposed to be there, or the one who isn't sure who you are or where you're from, but still compliments you on your music. Number 7. It must be possible to ignore the band when possible. I've played in venues that have a completely relaxed environment. Not performing under intense scrutiny is important, and can even be beneficial. An insulting environment allows for more natural and arbitrarily creative development. Having a casual setup in a venue can be imperative to a music scene. The concept of a casual setup allows the audience and attendees to relax and feel comfortable in that music setting. It can create a fan base that artists never thought could exist. The casual venue goer who didn't realise that particular band was playing has now become a fan due to a casual setup.
So in conclusion, when talking about establishing a scene, these factors aren't firm and concrete rules. They're more like guidelines. Some venue owners and operators may think that making patrons pay absolute attention to the band is key to creating a scene, but in fact maybe it's the exact opposite that allows devotion to bands and musicians. It's important that local talent is given an outlet. It encourages music from all over. Towns and neighbourhoods that aren't seen as creative hubs have exploded with talent because musicians were given a channel to blossom and inspire the people around them.
Try these guidelines, apply them to your local hangout, and see if they match up.